when hinges creak in doorless chambers and strange and frightening sounds echo through the halls, when candlelights flicker where the air is deathly still, that is the time when ghosts shall visit, practicing their terror with ghoulish delight. Welcome, foolish mortals, to the haunted mansion. Ha 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 ha! I am Bell Bottoms. This is Groovy at the Movies, and I will be your ghost host today. As you might have guessed, yes, today we are going to be talking about the 2023 version of the film The Haunted Mansion. Yes, 20 years after the first film of The Haunted Mansion, which starred Eddie Murphy, we get this reboot of the franchise. And what did I think about it? Well, I am going to tell you, but before I do, let me just ask you to look down and like, share, and subscribe. It'll help the algorithms and help me keep putting out videos here on the YouTubes. It'd be greatly appreciated, so thank you. And now let's get into The Haunted Mansion. I just have to do that laugh, you guys. You know, I actually at one time thought that I lived in a haunted mansion because when I woke up every morning, I would hear strange creaks and groans and horrible noises. But then it turned out that was just my body. So, yeah, not really haunted, just aging poorly. Okay, so The Haunted Mansion. What's it about? Who's in it? Did I like it? Let's talk about it. The Haunted Mansion is a story that's about a family that moves into a house that turns out to be haunted, and then they are trying to get rid of the ghosts. They enlist the aid of other people, and eventually they vanquish the ghost, and all's hell that ends well. All's well that ends well. And that was the plot for both the movie 20 years ago and also the movie now. Okay, you know, it's been 20 years. Could we not get a little different story? Actually, to be fair, this movie, the current version, I think, holds up a little better in terms of what they were trying to do. Although I have to admit, I did have somewhat of a fondness for the original. I know that's an unpopular opinion, but I actually didn't hate the Eddie Murphy version. I thought it had a lot of references and love for the actual attractions, so I didn't hate it. But like with this movie, I'll tell you what I think I would have changed. Okay, so we start off this movie, we've got, Gabby, played by Rosario Dawson, and her young son, who is played by Chase Dillon. Yeah, and he's 9 years old, and they have decided that they are going to leave their current dwellings. Their father is no longer with them, and, I should say, the child's father is no longer with them. He's passed away. And so it's dealing a little bit with loss and whatnot. And so they're trying to readjust. Also, the child is somewhat bullied and afraid of the outside world. So the mother, of course, does what anyone would do and buys a house off of social media, actually sight unseen. This house is in Louisiana, the proverbial haunted mansion. It looks quite a bit like the version in the Los Angeles, California, Anaheim rather, haunted mansion. So they drive up and they go inside and they find out that there is ghosts. So they promptly leave. Here was my first little kind of issue with this story because while yeah, they left the house, but they didn't seem particularly disturbed by the fact that there were ghosts. They're pretty nonchalant about it. It turns out that the gag is that even when you leave the house, that you're still going to be haunted by ghosts no matter where you go, and so you have to return back to the mansion and try and solve the mystery of why these ghosts are stuck in this mansion. 999 ghosts to be precise, and there's always room for one more. Okay, so they go to a hotel where they encounter a ghost, and once again, very nonchalantly, oh, okay, we've got ghosts. Their reaction was kind of like if it was a Wednesday and somebody told them that tomorrow it was going to be Thursday. Oh, okay. We've got ghosts. We're haunted. It's fine. I was a little surprised by this reaction. Also, it should be mentioned that their costumes for both the mother and the son rather, looked a little bit like they were set in another time period. That was a little confusing for me, and then I thought maybe it would be explained that they were reincarnations or that they were actually ghosts themselves. I would have liked that. But no real explanation was given except that they were wearing some dated clothing. One of the many issues I had with this movie was some of the plot inconsistencies or things that were started and then never fully developed, and this was one of them. So they leave the hotel and go back to said mansion where they enlist the help of a tour guide slash astrophysicist who was played by Lakeith Stanfield. Lakeith is grieving for his wife who died tragically in a car accident, and I did actually like the fact that they brought grief into it. I think he's a very fine actor and handled his role well, but I did have issues with how it kind of carried into the story, and I'll talk about that later. But anyways, so then with that, they decide to bring in other people to assist. Owen Wilson plays a priest in this movie. Tiffany Haddish plays a medium. Oh, by the way, what do you call a short fortune teller who's on the run from the law? A small, medium, at large. Okay. Anyways, okay, so we also get Danny DeVito playing a professor who is familiar with all things paranormal and particularly the history of this house. So a goodly part of the story involves them trying to recruit the other people and get them to come to this house to exorcise the ghost of the haunted mansion. Also, it should be said that they figure out that the main ghost in this is played by Jared Leto, who, if you're not familiar with Disney lore, is the Hatbox Ghost. Hatbox Ghost in the Haunted Mansion ride was an initial part of the attraction where his head would disappear and then reappear in a hatbox. This was an amazing idea. Somehow it didn't seem to work out all that well in the execution, and also that it was really terrifying to small children. So it was taken out of the attraction only to be replaced many years later. And it's back. Although the last time that I went to the Disney theme parks, we got the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay. And as much as I like Nightmare Before Christmas, I don't know what it was doing in the Haunted Mansion. It would be like going into the Matterhorn and suddenly seeing Sonic the Hedgehog pop out instead of the Yeti. It just really didn't make sense. I get it, it's an IP. They probably sell a lot of merch and whatnot based on that little change, but I thought it was unnecessary. At any rate, getting back to the movie. Like I said, I am going to have strong opinions on this because I am that nerd. The Haunted Mansion for me is without a doubt one of my favorite dark ride attractions, and I am that dark ride geek. The only other ones I think that rival it are the Star Wars attraction at Disney and also the Harry Potter ride at Universal Studios. There may be some other ones out there that I'm not familiar with that are great. Let me know in the comments. But getting back to this. So we have this team of people who have come to the Haunted Mansion to assist Rosario Dawson and her son with trying to rid the Haunted Mansion of these ghosts. Lakeith Stanfield, his character has developed a camera which can actually take pictures of ghosts. Yet another plot point that I thought was kind of wasted here, because once they established that, well, he could have taken pictures of the ghost in the house or whatnot, but instead he chooses not to do that, just pretends to take pictures of them. And then this whole idea about the camera is kind of a throwaway. I don't know why they didn't use it further. It was something that was brought up and then not really developed, because the picture wasn't developed. Yeah, okay. Anyways, moving along. So it turns out that Jared Leto, as I said, the Hatbox Ghost, is the most powerful ghost that's trapped in this realm or whatever, and he pretty much intimidates and controls all the other ghosts in the Haunted Mansion. His backstory is that he was a serial killer who murdered or trapped the souls of these 999 people, and when he gets to the 1,000th soul, then he gets released from his eternal damnation, or being put in the other world or whatever. So he just needs that one more soul. We think that it's going to be Lakeith Stanfield because of the fact that he has this already connection to the other side. And it turns out that actually that the one that he's after is the little boy, because the little boy is innocent, and he's trying to convince the little boy that if he kills himself, then he can go and be reunited with his lost father. So yeah, and it's never really explained why he's the most powerful ghost there or whatnot. It should be said at this point that Jared Leto playing the Hatbox Ghost, I don't even know why, because basically it was just CGI all over the place. I don't know whether he just phoned in his performance or what, or whether he was green screen. Whatever the case, I didn't really care for the CGI of the Hatbox Ghost. It worked more effectively with some of the other ghosts. But as far as the main character, because the Haunted Mansion is so set in having these kind of practical effects, I understand why all the CGI. Also, action sequences abound once these people are all gathered together in the Haunted Mansion. It's kind of like the Jungle Cruise, where we get action sequence after action sequence. And at a point, they actually get to leave the Haunted Mansion to go to another mansion where the Hatbox Ghost actually grew up and was murdered. So why wasn't this all just in one mansion? I don't know. It was a little convoluted. Also didn't work with the whole lore of the ghost being able to follow you from the Haunted Mansion to haunt you wherever you're at. Because when those people left to go on these little missions or whatnot, they weren't haunted. Did the ghost suddenly have ESPN and realize that these people were going to come back anyways? I don't know. It just seemed like a strange kind of inconsistency in the plot. So, yeah, as I said, Jared Leto is trying to get this little boy to off himself so that way they can have the 1,000 souls. But at the last minute, there is, of course, they're able to. Lakeith goes to the other side, enlists the aid of the ghost, and they agree to help him. And there is a final penultimate battle between good and evil, with Jamie Lee Curtis coming in as Madame Leota and assisting Tiffany Haddish's medium character in vanquishing the evil Hatbox Ghost, thereby putting an end to the curse of the Haunted Mansion. However, the other ghosts decide that they really like it there, so they want to stay and hang out. And all's well that ends well in a big dance party sequence that has a jazz version of Grim Grinning Ghost, a song that some of you who've written the ride are familiar with. Okay, and that's the Haunted Mansion. What did I think? I liked it. I think for families, it's just fine. Me being somebody who likes horror and the Haunted Mansion, I actually went into this with high expectations, maybe set too high. I kind of would think, and here's my solution to the whole thing. If you're going to make a movie about the Haunted Mansion, take a cue from the Pirates of the Caribbean. The Pirates of the Caribbean was a movie about pirates in the Caribbean. So if you're going to do a Haunted Mansion movie, have it be about the Haunted Mansion and the ghosts that live in there. This whole thing of doing like it's in modern day, there's these people who have no connection with the Haunted Mansion that are brought in and whatnot. I don't think it really needs all that. What about just an origin story? How was this Haunted Mansion built? How did it become haunted in the first place? And I hear you, you're saying, Bill, that can't happen because it's a Disney property and they can't make it too scary. Well, I kind of beg to disagree because they already have. If you go to the Phantom Manor in Disneyland Paris, they have this whole story that goes into the fact that this bride was getting ready to have her wedding or whatnot, and her father killed her fiance. There was an earthquake that destroyed the town of Thunder Mesa, which is where these people live, in the Haunted Mansion in Paris. It's actually not set in New Orleans, it's in their western area, so that's the whole Thunder Mesa tie-in. But you had an earthquake, these people died, the land was cursed, and that's the whole Haunted Mansion. That could have been a story. Or, I don't know if any of you remember a movie called Burnt Offerings. I'm dating myself here. But it was about this house. It had Karen Black and Oliver Reed. And it was about this house that was dilapidated and run down. It was a giant mansion. But it replenished itself every time that it captured the souls or the lives of the people that live there. That would have been an interesting story. Just anything that kind of focused more on the house, I think. Now, did they do a good job for the fans in paying homage to the ride? Yes, they did. There's Easter eggs all over the place. We got this stretching room, the elevator kind of thing, with the alligators and the TNT and the quicksand. We got the doom buggies, which many of you who have ridden the ride know what I'm talking about. I'm sitting in one right now. We got the Donald Duck chair. We got the knights in armor. We got the ghost. We got everything that goes with the Haunted Mansion, except a story that was just about the Haunted Mansion. Can we have that? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I did like this. The other thing I thought was really odd in this film was the costuming choices. Having already mentioned the fact that I thought that the main characters looked dressed like they were from some other time frame. When Jamie Lee Curtis as Madame Leota shows up, she looks like Princess Amidala on her way to an Amadeus meets New Romantics cosplay convention. I don't know what that costume was, y'all. I thought it was fabulous. But given that they said that Madame Leota's character actually knew the Hellbox Ghost from way back when he was still a human being and doing all these atrocities, that kind of set her in a certain time period. So to have her show up in these outlandish duds, I don't know what that was about. Sorry, Leota, I just didn't get it. But yeah, it was a cute costume. Just had nothing really to do with that. Already mentioned the camera story that kind of really didn't go anywhere. Yeah, there was some things to really like about this movie and some things about this movie that were a little lacking. As far as a family friendly summer adventure-ish film, it was okay. I think it's a good gateway to horror for small children who may not be familiar with it, it's fine. If you're going there expecting big scares, there are some things that are probably would be frightening to small children. Have a scene with the bride that's pretty terrifying. Some other little bits and pieces. But overall, yeah, it's not like a scary, scary movie. And I guess being Disney, how could it be? Well, maybe it could. Maybe. Let me know what you thought about the Haunted Mansion. I'd like to thank you for joining me. Once again, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'm Bell Bottoms, and we're feeling groovy at the movies. Bye now.